A single software bug once cost a company nearly $500 million. One bad design choice once forced the recall of millions of phones. Failure in the tech world isn't just embarrassing, it's catastrophic. But the failures of 2024? They hit a little differently. They weren't just about bad products, they were about broken trust. How much does a mistake cost? In 2024, the answer wasn't just measured in dollars. It was measured in 15,000 lost jobs at a single company, in the private phone calls of politicians, and in 272 million stolen social security numbers. We love technology. We love the promise of a faster, smarter, more connected future. But let's be honest, we also have a morbid fascination with watching it all go wrong. We remember phones that literally exploded and operating systems so bad people refused to upgrade. These failures are more than just bloopers. They're benchmarks. They're a kind of gravitational pull that keeps the tech world honest. But this year, 3 stories stood out. Not just for the scale of the failure, but for what they say about the state of technology right now. The pressure has never been higher. Companies are in a brutal race to innovate, to meet impossible market demands, and to shove more and more power into smaller and smaller designs. They're building digital skyscrapers at lightning speed. But when you build that fast, sometimes you forget to check if the foundation is solid. And in 2024, we saw the foundations of some of the biggest names in the industry start to crack. First up, the giants. For decades, if you bought a PC, the 2 most reassuring words you could hear were Intel inside. They were the undisputed champions. But 2024 was the year the champion got knocked down, hard. The year saw their CEO, once brought in as a savior, get the boot. They were forced to lay off 15,000 people. And in the great AI gold rush, while Nvidia was selling all the shovels, Intel was still trying to figure out its map. But the most embarrassing part for a chip maker? Making bad chips. From an industrial design perspective, a processor is a marvel of microscopic architecture. Billions of transistors, all working in perfect harmony. Intel's top-of-the-line Raptor Lake processors had a fundamental flaw in their design. The voltage was unstable. Think of it like constantly redlining a car's engine. It might give you a burst of speed, but eventually, the engine physically damages itself. That's what was happening. The chip was literally cooking itself to death because of a design flaw. But the damage to their reputation was done. Hardcore PC builders and gamers, their most loyal base, started flocking to their rival, AMD, snapping up processors like the Ryzen 7 9800X3D. For Intel, the price of this failure wasn't just a recall. It was the loss of trust from the people who built their brand. But a faulty chip you can replace is one thing. What happens when the failure isn't in your computer, but in the very network that connects us all? And what if the failure was put there on purpose? In the world of cybersecurity, there are ghosts in the machine. But we learned this year that a Chinese-linked hacking group known as Salt Typhoon wasn't just a ghost. They were living in the walls of America's communication networks. For 2 years, they breached at least 8 major US telecom companies. This isn't like kicking down a door. This is like having the master key to the entire building. They could potentially see it all. Phone calls, text messages, location data, the kind of widespread access that spies dream of. Now, the good news, if you can call it that, is that their focus was on high-profile political targets, not the average person. But the truly chilling part? Federal investigators admit the hackers are likely still in the networks. They're trying to untangle a web of code that's been woven into the core of our infrastructure for years. This failure is a stark reminder that in our connected world, the biggest vulnerabilities aren't always the ones we can see. They're silent, and they are persistent. A government spying on politicians is scary. But our final and most shocking fail of 2024 is the one that brings the danger right to your doorstep. It's about a company you've probably never heard of that knew everything about you, and then lost it. There's a whole shadow industry of companies called data brokers. They legally buy and sell your personal information. It's a house of cards built on our privacy. This year, that house collapsed. A company called National Public Data was hacked. And what was stolen wasn't just a list of emails. It was the crown jewels of your identity. The leak included the full names, addresses, dates of birth, and 272 million social security numbers. Let that sink in. That data, the master key to your financial life, was just leaked. Posted on a hacking forum for any scammer in the world to download. It's a treasure trove for identity thieves that will be exploited for years, maybe decades to come. And the company responsible? They just shut down, vanished. The damage is done. The data is out there forever. Of all the failures this year, this one is the most personal and the most permanent. So what have we learned from the wreckage of 2024? We saw a titan like Intel stumble from its own hubris, forgetting that reputation is harder to build than a processor. We saw how our national infrastructure is more vulnerable than we imagine, with ghosts hiding in the code. And we saw the catastrophic result of a system that treats our most private data as a commodity to be bought and sold. These stories aren't just entertainment. They are cautionary tales. They prove that the bigger and faster technology gets, the greater the responsibility of the people who build it. And the more devastating the consequences when they fail. But those are just the biggest fails of this year. The tech world is filled with legendary blunders. I want to know your favorite, or least favorite, tech fail of all time. Was it a gaming console? A terrible app? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more deep dives into the tech that shapes our world, for better or for worse, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.